Some names get remembered as heroes. Some names get remembered as villains. And some names leave behind a story so complicated that people are still arguing about it decades later. This is Hood Heroes or Villains. And today we're talking about a man the FBI called an informant, while others called him something else entirely. Gregory Scarpa, the Grim Reaper. Imagine being one of the most feared men in New York City, a man connected to organized crime, a man whose name would eventually be linked to murders, extortion, and decades of mafia activity, and at the very same time, having a relationship with the FBI. Not as a target, not as a suspect, as an informant. That's where the story of Gregory Scarpa begins. Long before documentaries, courtroom testimony, and government investigations exposed just how deep the relationship went, Scarpa had already built a reputation on the streets. He was a member of the Colombo Crime Family, one of New York's 5 families. And according to people who knew him, Gregory Scarpa wasn't the kind of man you crossed twice. Over the years, he developed a reputation for violence so severe that he earned a nickname that followed him everywhere: the Grim Reaper. But here's where things start getting strange. The FBI knew exactly who Gregory Scarpa was. They knew who he associated with. They knew what organization he belonged to. And according to later investigations, federal agents maintained a relationship with him that lasted for years. Think about that. How does someone become both a feared mobster and a trusted source for the government? At what point does an informant become too dangerous to protect? And what happens when the people responsible for fighting crime begin depending on someone accused of committing it? Those questions will follow Gregory Scarpa for the rest of his life. Because the deeper investigators looked, the more complicated the story became. Some people believed that Scarpa helped law enforcement solve cases. Others believed the relationship gave him protection that ordinary people could never dream of receiving. And the line between informant and criminal became harder and harder to see. But before the headlines, before the scandals, before the investigation that exposed one of the most controversial relationships between organized crime and the FBI, Gregory Scarpa was just another kid growing up in Brooklyn. And that's where part 2 begins. So let me ask you, can someone spend years helping law enforcement while still living a life of crime? Does helping the government change how history should judge a person? Or does what you do matter more than who you help? Drop your answers below. History remembers the headlines, but the truth usually lives somewhere in the details. And Gregory Scarpa left behind a lot of both. Hero, villain, or something in between. Drop your answers below, and I'll see y'all in part 2.